And speaking of problematic men, the Australian state of Victoria has found a unique way to tackle them. It's appointed a minister to improve men's behavior, which is the country's first ever such position. But not many Australians are happy with the announcement, as they believe this new position actually demonizes men. Australia is currently struggling, however, with an epidemic of gender-based violence, with 31 women being killed since the beginning of this year. Our next report goes inside the creation of this new ministry and how the nation is in fact responding.
With incidents of violence against women increasing day by day, Australia has found a unique way to tackle the crisis. In the country's first, the state of Victoria has appointed a special official who will be responsible with improving men's behaviour. Victoria Premier Jacinta Allen has announced that a local member of Parliament, Tim Richardson, would hold the role of Parliamentary Secretary for Men's Behaviour Change. The state is governed by the Australian Labor Party, which deems itself a progressive force for women. Now, Richardson has acknowledged that the work will not be easy. He says he will focus largely on how the internet affects men's attitudes towards women and how they can build respectful relationships. Richardson adds, and I quote, "We know that the time to act on men's violence against women is now, and it starts with us men and boys. We must make Victoria a safer place for women and children and work to end the tragedy of deaths of Victorian women at the hands of men." Australia has been struggling with an epidemic of gender-based violence. According to the Counting Dead Women project, 31 women have been killed throughout the country since the beginning of this year. Last year, a total of 64 women were murdered. And individual stories that have emerged in recent months have been horrific. Last month, 5 women were murdered by a man armed with a knife at a shopping centre in Sydney. Last weekend, a mother and her daughter fell victim to gun violence in Perth. In another case, a woman was killed by her partner, who was already facing charges of raping and stalking her, but had been released on bail. Now, Richardson's new role has given a glimpse of hope to many, but not all Australians are happy with the announcement. The opposition Liberal Party's Jane Hume has expressed scepticism about its effectiveness, saying the move looked like window dressing. Meanwhile, critics on social media say that Richardson's job would be to demonize men and feminize the culture. Some users have also accused the Victoria state government of blaming all men for crimes against women and called for reforms to fix bail laws to keep the offenders locked up. Now, while the new position only exists at a state level, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese believes men across Australia have to take responsibility. Earlier this month, he called the growing violence a national crisis.
This is indeed a national crisis, and it's a national challenge. And we're facing this with a spirit of national unity. Today is about who we are as a nation and as a society. We recognise that governments need to act, but we also recognise that this is an issue for the whole of society, not just for governments. We want to change this in a way in which we all have to take responsibility, because violence against women is not a women's problem to solve. It is a whole of society problem to solve, and men in particular have to take responsibility.
His government has pledged almost $1 billion to help women leave abusive relationships. It has also announced a ban on deepfake pornography to combat violence against women and age verification to protect children from harmful online content. The measures came after tens of thousands protested in cities across Australia to draw attention to the rising deaths of women caused by gender-based violence.
From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.
South Africa's May 29th elections
start of change in the country.
We are on the verge of history.
I am standing here at the forefront of change where voices echo the call for action.
The nation grapples with an unemployment crisis. As South Africans prepare to cast their votes, the question looms, will the winds of change usher in a new era, or will the legacy of the past maintain its grip on the future?